Okay, this is a Unholy Deathknight Resto Shaman versus Unholy Holy, and I would say this team has the upper hand on this match for a bunch of reasons. Right now, you can double stack the Gargoyle with Unholy Frenzy scaling off of you directly and then Heroism directly onto the pet, and he casts ridiculously fast because he's got 60% haste as well as whatever you have personally, and so his casts get down to like zero point 0.9, and it's pretty ridiculous. That and then the passive healing that a shaman can do with Earth Shield and Riptide is a lot more than my paladin can do, and their offensive pressure from Hex and Wind Shocks is a lot higher than anything my paladin can do right now. So I would say overall this team has the upper hand in this match, especially because this Death Knight severely outgears me and can do a lot more damage as well. It's kind of ridiculous because he's got his 4-piece vicious already. I see it at the end. But we can still win this. It's going to be a long match, and it is eventually going to come down to mana. We've both already blown our gargoyles and most of our cooldowns, and so I'm sitting on this shaman as much as possible just to put a little bit of pressure out, make him use his healing surges instead of his healing waves, and keep the hexes off for as much as possible when I need heals. Is pretty much the key point. I would say this Death Knight is probably a better player than the Shaman, and he does have a better Necrotic Strike rotation because he doesn't have to fight through Earth Shield like I do the whole time, but I end up having to Necrotic Strike a lot more than he does just to keep Earth Shield balanced. Currently Earth Shield is on the Shaman, which is pretty much a good move for us. My Paladin is line of sighting as many hexes as he can, forcing the Shaman to play closer to me so that I can catch as many focus kicks as I can. There was an Earth Shield switch again, and I am pretty much spending most of this match just trying to play defensively. There's a Mana Tide Totem really early, and I'm going to come over and try to kill it. And I do kill it pretty quickly, but I fall behind on health. My Paladin eats something. There's a Hex that he's going to get full. I'm going to try to coil heal myself. It's on cooldown, IBF. I end up getting hit really hard, but he manages to top me off because he still has his Guardian up and he bubbles to keep me alive just because this team can do so much so quickly. Because I am behind. I think that's my zone that I put down so that I stop the coil. And I think my Paladin snuck off a few drinks in that. Personally, I didn't see it, but I mean, when they're sitting on me, bubble is kind of pointless if he's got his trinket up. So I'm on this Death Knight, trying to do more damage. Grip the Hex because he doesn't have a grounding down. On the Shaman, I'm going to switch to him for a bit. He got hodged, and there's an anti-magic shell up, so my coils and most of my Scourge Strike doesn't do anything, as well as my diseases on this Death Knight. It's almost as bad as IBF, playing a DK versus DK. He is using the Spell Reflect meta, which I really hate because it's such random. Like, you can get anything from a Death Coil to, like, you could Spell Reflect a Death Grip or something and get me out of position instead of gripping you back. And it's so random, I don't like it at all, and I see a bunch of teams using it. But, whatever. Gargoyle's back up. This match has been going on for a while. And we're chasing down the Death Knight, and I'm trying to switch to the Shaman just so I can keep more hexes off. I'm close to death again. This has been happening a bunch just with the constant hex and the shocks. My Paladin having to play as much line of sight as he can. Grounding Totem's down. Kill the Grounding Totem. That means I can Hex, Hodge, Silence if I Dark Stem a Hex, which I never do in this match. I should have. I get stunned. There's a Gnaw, and my Paladin does line of sight that, even though I need the heals. He does have his Necrotic Strike up, which has to get healed through, and it does get healed through pretty quickly with a Divine. And on the Death Knight again, this is reasonably close to a kill, but nothing massive, because the Shaman is completely free, and he will pretty much always be completely free this match. Fighting out here in the open on DK versus DK is really frustrating because I'm outgeared and he will outdamage me. There's not much outskilling other than who can put out the most pressure, and they have a huge advantage for that with their CC and interrupts off the Shaman. Anyway, only thing we really have on this team is they can't kill my healer. Well, they can, but it takes a long time, and the Hodge. So it's kind of a fight from behind at this point. I have to kill my pet and resummon a new one because he does eat a Hex and get topped off pretty quickly. Throw up my zone just so I can get topped off without anything. Throw my coil out to stop that drink on the Shaman, and then move back into my zone, just trying to stay away from this Death Knight. I don't know what's better. if I should just eat the Scourge and Necrotic Strikes and stab the Death Coils, or run out and get hit with the Death Coil and not eat the Necrotic Strike for the zone. I haven't looked at the actual numbers of what each is hitting for on my resilience. Grip the Shaman for an interrupt. My pet's enraged. My Gargoyle is going to be out in about a minute. My Strangulate's up in about 30 seconds. Focus Kick. And then go back to kiting because he's got to chase me down. Paladin sneaks a drink in the middle of all this, which is kind of funny to me because there's so much going around that it's kind of ridiculous. Right here, the DK AMSs and the Shaman sneaking out for a drink. So I send my pet over there, and I was mashing it, and so I'm guessing this Deathknight taunts and my pet leaps, despite that I was telling my pet to go over onto that Shaman. I don't think they should follow taunt, but mainly that's because I don't even have taunt on my bars, because this situation is very rare. Focus Kick onto the Shaman as much as possible. He's caught up on mana. There's a Hodge on the Shaman. He trinkets it. Full silence. It's a 7-second Strangulate, and the Death Knight's going to run out of line of sight, and we're going to get a kill before he can do anything. We actually managed to Necrotic Strike his pet stack down to nothing. 25% of his health had gotten it stacked up pretty high, so that didn't do anything. And then the Shaman's dead from here. So they eventually fell behind on the Necrotic Strike when he went to drink and lost him the match.